welcome folks. Mil-Spec Opsmic here. It's going to be your SITREP 8/1/2024. We're already into August. This year is flying by. And oh boy, the next 96 roughly days, it's just going to be a wild world, folks. So just buckle up. Hey, look, we're coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge here in the great state of Texas. And without further ado, let's jump into Skyglass. We've got a lot going on out there. Looking at a couple of drones, look like they have some, the Turkish drones are all squawking emergencies, so they seem to be having an issue. But you can see Middle East a little active. I can see some Eurofighters down there in Qatar, and yeah, a couple kind of stacked up here. C-130s, some A-400s headed into Cyprus. This one's right over kind of the Egypt side of the house, right across the street, so to speak, near the Suez Canal, but just right down the road from Gaza. We're going to go into the details about Israel and what has been going on there. They're starting to really reach out and touch someone. We've seen them go into the suburbs of Beirut, which is insane. You think about that. That's a very large city to their north. But we also see them taking out people inside Tehran. So this is going to get really interesting because as we get into the news cycle, you're going to see that the illustrious leaders of Tehran or Iran have basically authorized yet another strike against Israel. Kind of quiet over there right now, but I am sure as we head into the weekend and probably before we even get to Monday, you will see them go hot at some point. They're going to do it. But let's see how big this escalates. This is going to get really interesting. So let's do this. I'm going to jump over to the U.S. as we get into CONUS and just get a bottoms up number. I will tell you it was over 300, close to 400 when I first grabbed, but I've since stripped out all of the trainers. And you can see them on my list here in red. Now I go down a little further. We look at H60s, and it's quite active for H60s. 32 of those up. Take those away. We get into the folks that don't want to be seen. These are your incognitos. And those are going to be 30 of those. Go down a little further. We got 30 KC-135s up over the United States as well as over Europe, I'm sure. Yeah, they're pretty active over Europe right now. We got a lot of fighters over there right now. So we go back to CONUS. And let me just add in these, the KC-46 or the B767-200 is really the platform, but it goes by KC-46, which is going to be an air refueler. It's called the Pegasus. They actually have a Category 1 directive out right now because they're having to go in and fix some fuel pump issues on the aircraft that are mission critical. And so anyway, so we'll probably see less of those up in the mix and a lot more of the KC-135s while they are, getting their act together. So, okay, now bottoms up number 246. Again, I've already stripped out quite a bit. So let's do this. Let's get into our watch list. One of the things that I am noticing is that our balloons seem to be back kind of over the center of the United States. Handful of those up. They went out to the left coast, and then they came back to center. Not really sure what's going on with those, but that is a DoD asset. And the fact that they are over that general area, when I show you the R-135 activity, it kind of makes you wonder what they're doing, what they're up to. I don't see a lot of other things over the U.S. that really catch my eye, other than it looks to be Air Force 2, could be Air Force 1. It's just flying as NA on the move. And I will tell you, just looking at Flashbang's schedule, I don't see anything, so that more than likely is Bob Marley on the move. It's probably the busiest she's been in 4 years. And so, yeah, you back up over Europe, you can see we've got a little E3 Sentry there, and then, of course, an R-135 Jake 17 coming back from doing a little bit of route over there. And then that's actually going to be one of your Brio Lasai Aviation Intel aircraft. There's one of those emergency drones we just talked about. And that's actually a Russian bird coming out of Algeria. So I'll show you. They've been a little busy. If we look at what the Ruskies have been up to, you can see that plane, or at least another one of the planes, is down there in that neck of the woods, which is right in the mix of all the U.S. folks. You can see rounding the horn there, headed into Kaliningrad. It's the only way they can get there because they restricted all the airspace for them. And then some moves out to the north and off to further east. And you can see that one down into the Caspian Sea there. Okay, so let's get into the intel side of the house. Think of these as most of them are going to be third party, but there are some military ones in there. Notice this one headed, looks to be Casper, Wyoming, and then down to Southern California. Don't know what they're doing up there. And then, of course, you can see them operating in New Mexico and all over Texas, and then down towards kind of New Orleans area in Alabama, down right along that coastline. Kind of unusual for an intelligence aircraft. Remember, that's intel, surveillance, reconnaissance. They do it all. Now, if you're wondering why it is so active and busy over the last 3 days around this general area, it is because nukes are yet once again on the move. Russia is pushing stuff all over the place right now. They have another it's a nuclear exercise, but they're not firing anything. They're just pushing assets around, and it's making our government very nervous, and obviously NATO very nervous. And then this one right here, I still think they are looking very closely at Serbia and Kosovo. I think that is a worry area for the U.S. government because they are pro-Russia in most cases, and I think they're trying to figure out where their loyalties lie, maybe. But if that goes hot, it disrupts everything we've got going in the region, right? So then also just notice you got Philippines is pretty hot. And then, of course, Malaysia is also pretty hot. All right, let's talk drones. Now, I am tracking over 143 different drones in my watch list. 143. Most of them are Q4, Q9s, but there are some low altitude ones as well. This one you're seeing running all the way up towards Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. That is going to be a Q4, high altitude. And you can see those are little low altitude drones near Denmark and over near Lithuania. And then the high altitude one again. And then low altitude out over the Mediterranean. And then you see this running straight pattern. That is just doing a data grab. As they go across, they're just taking snapshots all the way through. We'll talk a little bit more about that region here in a minute. But you can see them operating out of the UAE, going across into Bahrain. And then we get over here to the U.S., and you can see just kind of a coast-to-coast back and forth. I'm not really sure what to make of that one. And then this one looks to be headed up into Utah, out of Southern California, and pretty busy, actually. That's probably Q9 drones there, Customs and Border Protection. That one's going to be a Q4, and it is just it's grabbing everything from probably Cuba all the way north to D.C. from that altitude. It's a high altitude. And then, of course, you got this one. This is probably Q9, maybe a Q4 drone, but I think it's a Q9, but out off of Hawaii. All right. Okay, let's talk grays. This is going to be your agency boys. And the only thing I want to point out is just notice that is, let me just hit pause for a second. That little orange circle that you see at the very beginning here, where into Arizona, that is Glendale, Arizona. That's where Trump was. The reason I'm trying to show a correlation between, because this has happened before. We watched the Graybirds. Remember, the Graybirds are going to be Phoenix Air. They move our agency boys all over the United States, as well as others. But for the most part, it's going to be agency. All right. So when you see them heading into southern Arizona, or you see them going into very close proximity to Trump's rallies, that is a little concerning. I'm a little concerned by that. But we're going to continue to monitor, and as I see his rallies happening, I'm just going to see if our agency folks are kind of tracking things in that region. So, okay, and then you can see that one broken trace as it comes back out of, it looks like Tucson area. So it's just south, but it won't be too obvious, right? And then you see the one that's broken trace headed across back over to the DC kind of area, the East Coast, one up to Alaska. And a couple of little flights in and out. That's going to be, as it comes out of Cartersville, that's their home base operations. Now I'm just going to take a gander at Europe and down into Africa, and I don't really see anything else from them. So maybe that's good. Okay, let's talk E6. This is TACAMO, take charge, move out. Talking to your submarines and your nukes. And so you can see this one as it heads down out over right? You can see left coast, east coast. See this one, a broken trace that heads out over the Gulf of Mexico? Yeah, they went dark. Why did they go dark? I don't know. But let's take a look here in just a second at the AWACS. And you're going to notice a similar flight pattern as it heads down over the Gulf. Now, you got it out off the left coast, but you can see kind of over the U.S., and then as it heads down, same thing. Now, this is looking at more than likely ship traffic. You see that pinch point near the peninsula there where Cancun is, right? So, yeah, they're probably grabbing, if I had to guess, they're tracking ship stuff in and out of that area. And then, of course, you get up here, you can see them doing the same thing, really, ship traffic out over the North Sea. Remember, when you see them do that perfect circle, that means more than likely the ship people that have phones on those ships doing that man in the middle, it is snatching up all their data. They don't even know it. They're just floating across, not realizing somebody else is grabbing their comms. And then, of course, you can see over France, et cetera. You expect to see that, especially with the Olympics. And then a little bit north, this is a strange pattern because normally see it off here to the east coast of Australia, but this time it's all focused on the northern end, which is also probably tied to some of the stuff floating past those areas, okay? All right, let's talk air refuelers because this gets interesting. I'm going to show you an article. We just delivered a whole bunch of F-16s. You see this one that flies across Iraq, kind of between, it's kind of the northern end of Syria. But you can see all little marshalling patterns. All right, that tells you that we've got a very frequent tempo when it comes to fighters around basically the whole corridor of NATO, right? Coast to coast on the borders. See this big transition, all right, going across? That's going to be your F-16s coming out of Ogden, Utah. More than likely they were modified there. And again, you can see broken traces out over the Atlantic, down into the Caribbean, down into the Gulf of Mexico. Very active, actually. It's only 3 days. I see just a couple of little flights in and out of Hawaii. I see some broken traces there, right? So probably moving squadrons around, more than likely bringing them CONUS and out. But that one that you see with the arc going all the way over to Europe, that comes out of Ogden, Utah, and that is more than likely those F-16s. They were probably modified in the depots there, which would have been a heavy maintenance modification. And that's why you see that trace. So it's good. We're just connecting dots. I'll show you here in a minute with the news stories where that ties in. But let's do this. I'm going to take us over here to the news cycle. First and foremost, this just goes to show you the U.S. military has technologies out there that most of us don't even know about. I was fortunate because I worked on a lot of these programs in my former life. And so I know the capabilities that we have. I was on hypersonics. I was on drones. I've been on the F-35. Spent a lot of time on F-35. So, but this right here just goes to show you, this is yet another unmanned aircraft. That is basically, it's called the RQ-180, and it's part of that next-gen ISR system. When you hear me mention ISR, when we get into the intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, it's right in line with a lot of the other stuff that we have out there, like the example right here, Q4 drone, right? That's an RQ-4E Eurohawk drone. And then, of course, you got the U-2s and the Q-9s, right? So there's just a lot of different systems that have that capability. And this one, you may look up one day and see something similar to that flying. I've seen a few like that. And they say this has been actually flying for quite a few years and that they are in different theaters. So the last thing you want is to have this thing fly remotely into Iran and park at the airport and hand off all our technology like what happened back in the Obama days. All right, flashbang schedule, nothing really. All right, look at this. The migrant shelter cost, this is in Massachusetts, to exceed $1 billion for the next several years. That's a prediction from the state. So this is just a confirmation. That's all it is. We see the flights going up there and you go, why would they be taking people to Massachusetts or whatever it may be? And the reality is this is what's happening, and it's happening in a multitude of states. They're breaking the bank on us. And it doesn't stop there. Check this out. A major poll basically supports Trump's promise to enact the largest deportation in American history. Hey, listen, you know what? Yeah, we can call them out right out of the gate. They're very obvious where they are and who they are. And I just read another story that in Atlanta, they actually went into a community that had a whole bunch of illegals living there, and every one of them had voter ID. They were registered voters. How does that even happen? Corruption, all right? That is why you got to get rid of these folks. And that's why this guy brought them all in, okay? All right, moving on. Okay, it's going to be your NOTAM for today. Just showing you we're just kind of focusing on the Israeli side of the house, and just notice these are active TFRs. That's a temporary flight restriction. And some of these are, I mean, this is a pretty big box. It's got a lot of stuff happening in the region. Now, when will Iran basically target and start popping things off in Israel? Wait and see, but I will say that this is going to get really interesting, because if they hit them again, I think Israel is more than likely going to go hot in a big way in Iran. Okay, but I just want to point out, you see this? This is major storms and turbulence, so that may delay some of those activities. That's at 18,000 feet. Let me crank it up a little bit higher. So it's a low hanging, really. I mean, you can see 15,000 feet, 12,000 feet. The whole state is covered up. Notice how it runs almost perfectly to the border of Iraq. That's kind of odd, isn't it? All right. Now, let's back up. We'll just take a look here, see if anything catches my eye. U.S. is the same as it has been for a while. I see this weird, that's kind of a missile launch box right there. Those really long ones that you see like that. So this, let's see, surface and above. So that's all the way up to space. So skylight. I don't know what that means, but looks like a missile box. All right. Okay. You can see you've got some TFRs going on out here in Hawaii as well. All right. Moving on from that, let's get over here to Biggs Army Airfield. And the big thing is I just want to show you that we've got camper flight coming in. That's U.S. Military Transportation Command. An Omni flight coming in from Fort Hood. These are both passenger transports, a 777-200 and a 67200. Where are they headed from there? This one's destination unknown. Don't really know quite yet. We'll look at that here in just a minute. And then Omni headed back over to Fort Worth. All right. Now, are they troops? What are they? I don't know. Let me just click on this camber flight, because it's the only one that I've seen. And it left, and let me box this up. All right. Looks to be headed, let's see, 527 miles an hour, 36,000 miles an hour, or sorry, 36,000 feet, 528 miles an hour. Yeah, 36,000 miles an hour. Yeah. Anyway, I think, man, this looks to be headed either down to, well, I mean, it may come in and hook and go into Guantanamo Bay, which would be then probably you could be doing a troop rotation there at Guantanamo Bay. Not really sure. Let's see where that ends up going. I'll keep an eye on it, all right? Okay, over to Dover, and just notice the big ships. That's the one you're looking for. 747s coming in. You got a Coletta, an Atlas Air, and then, of course, from there it's going to RZE, and the other going to Ramstein, and that's exactly where you'd expect them to go, headed over to Europe. More than likely missile defense. All right, now we go down a little further here. This is going to be Ramstein. You can see got some weather happening over there in Europe right now. 747 coming in from Dover. We just saw that, and I don't see it anywhere else on the board. C-130, that's going to be Belgian Air Force. I don't know what that is, 737-800, but not really sure who that is, operated by Valor. So these are mostly, these will be C-130s, and then this is probably, that Dove 71 is more than likely a C-17. Same thing with this Reach as it comes inbound. So, all right. Now check this out. We've been watching all of these flights come out of the Middle East going into Ramstein. I said Ramstein is absolutely a hub where they're bringing these migrants in from the Middle East, right? into that country. They're putting them on flights. They're flying them into JFK. They're flying them into different various locations inside the United States. They're also going to Germany. So they get them a flight into that, and then they are off to the races. And so check this. This is crazy. I will tell you, as one that has frequented Germany, I spent every 2 weeks for 8 months, I was in Germany. And this right here, ever since 2015, 2016 migrant crisis, this happened during the Obama years, Syrians, yes, Syrians, not Gazans or Palestinians, Syrians have arrived in Germany in ever-increasing numbers, and now the number is at least 972,000 at the end of 2023, so it is probably over 1 million now. They say there are 22 million Syrians living in Syria itself, meaning those in Germany represent nearly 1 for every 20 in their native country. And I will tell you, these folks right here, they don't like you, and you are the infidel. Just remember that. Recognize the look. They hate us, and they want to kill us. Simple as that. So just pay attention, because this is happening in Germany. It is also happening here in the United States. All right, Biggs Army Airfield, that's that camber flight that left. We just saw it take off, and we'll just leave it at that. Moving on. This is going to be the Brits version of the camber flights. They also include R-135s in there too, but you can see, looks like both of them are just leaving out of home base operations. RZE Poland. Now this is important because you're going to notice the amount of 747 showing up. That's missile defense, that's tanks, that's artillery, that is 155 millimeter artillery as well, not just the equipment to fire it, but look at this, 747, you go down a little further, base commander, German Air Force coming in, another 747 from Rickenbacker, all right, and I'm starting to really think that these 747s from this area are probably going to be something along either Bradley fighting or maybe M1s, but let's see. We go down a little further. I just want to see what else we got that catches my eye as they leave. Okay, that one's headed to Constanta. So that base commander basically just goes back and forth from Wiesbaden to RZE. He just kind of all over that whole area. A little further, German Air Force leaving, and then Coletta's outbound but doesn't know, destination unknown. You can go down a little further and see some more. That, again, another Coletta leaving. All right, so you can see a lot of big, heavy equipment going into Ukraine. All right, so this, you saw the intel flights, right? And the fact that we were flying around that area hot and heavy in terms of just trying to gather whatever was on the move. And so that, let me just show you. We go back over here to the R-135s, and you will see, let me just go back to this for a minute. All right, you can see that it's going to be your nuke sniffer. That's rounding the horn. That's because nukes are on the move, right? That's a R-135 nuke sniffer. Notice it's flying over the Panama Canal side of the house. All right. Okay, that's a data point for you. But let me go into SIG Intel, and what you're going to see is, see this into Constanta, right? Looking very closely at Crimea, more than likely. Pretty busy from that standpoint. And get back over the U.S. again. I'm telling you, there's something going on out here. This is where we have all of those intel balloons over that same exact area. They're watching somebody or something very closely out here in the Midwest. So, but that right there, if you go into the ISR side of the house, I'm going to fast forward this, and I want you to just look, right? We're talking about Russia holding a third phase of tactical nuclear drills the same day that Ukraine receives their first F-16s, right? That's why, right? They're looking very closely. They want to know where those nukes are going, and but not a coincidence, all right? They're out there pounding their chest, and of course we're showing up with F-16s. Putin's already said, "Hey, look, if you deploy F-16s into NATO, we're going to take them out." All right, so where does that leave us? Let's go over here to this side. Look at this. This is the first piece. Zelensky suspends Ukraine's foreign debt payments starting August 1st. Remember him showing up to the UN and saying basically, an IOU. You basically give me money, I'll return your investment, and we'll be good as gold. Yeah, well, all of a sudden, hey, thanks for all the money, and I can't repay it. That's really what's going on here, okay? Okay, so Ukraine receives first batch of F-16 fighter jets. And I don't know, that's probably an artist rendition. That is clearly not it. And that is an interesting paint job. Don't know that that's accurate either, but maybe it is. All right, so they're saying, okay, the first batch came over, right? Well, we just saw that when we went into, as we talked about these things coming across, right? And I said, all right, well, let's go over here and look at that stream going across the drink, right? You see that line going all the way across that arc into Ogden, Utah? That's F-16s coming across, all right? So that's how that ties into this piece. That is the equipment that they're bringing in. These are older F-16s. They're not the new, latest and greatest ones that you would get from Lockheed. They are ones that have basically been, they're hand-me-downs, all right? And so in some cases, they've had to get heavily modified. And so, actually, probably most cases, they've had to get heavily modified. So anyway, that is just yet another data point for you. But, all right. Again, they're not going to be, the first couple ones that take off are probably going to get shot down. And then they've already said that they've been flying them in western side of Ukraine, which would make a little more sense. Let me show you also what's been going on in Ukraine over the weekend. All of the red dots that you see on this that look like little drones, that's because they are little drones. That's Russia popping stuff off over the weekend in a heavy fashion. And so you can see now why they're trying to get missile defense in. The interesting piece is, when you start talking about Patriot missiles and other types of air defense, you were talking serious dollars. Every missile is it's like $70 million or something. So they're shooting down these drones with these super high dollar missiles. So you kind of do the balance in terms of the cost benefit analysis. There's got to be a cheaper way. That's why Israel has gone away from the Patriot missile system to David Sling and created their own stuff that works just as well. And it's a tenth of the cost. Okay. All right. Back over here. So that's what's going on in Ukraine. And then look at this, U.S. to arm Ukraine's F-16s with advanced weapons, all right? And so they're talking about AMRAAMs and stuff that basically you can hit stuff from more than 20 miles. That's going to be the AIM-120. And anyway, that's, notice here they have no timeline really disclosed. Yeah, they're just, wait and see. This will be the escalation right here. This is what will basically get things going hot, because as soon as we start to throw in some air power, you're going to see a lot of things get shot down. You're going to see the numbers of the F-16s plummet. All right. Okay. Now over here, let's get into the Israeli piece. I want to show you a couple things that I think are pertinent to all of this. All right. First and foremost, let me go back over here. Forget the Ukraine. Let's go to Syria. Okay. Do you see all of the red marks almost directly across from me? Those are hits by the Russians taking out ground targets, all right? The Russians. Let that sink in. So the Russians are in there. They're pro-Assad, which is the president of Syria. Can you imagine being a president of a country and having 5 different countries fighting inside your country? And that's what it is. You got Israel, Russia, United States, Iran, Turkey. And, plus you got all the de facto proxy terrorist organizations operating inside there too. That's why Damascus will be gone overnight, Isaiah 17. But I wanted to point out this because this is kind of a lay of the land in terms of what's been going on in Syria. It's not just the U.S. taking things out. This is Russia popping stuff off, all right? All right, and then this is Israel. This is just Gaza. This is really the only area today, currently, that is getting popped. There's a couple little things to the north, and there's a lot of arrests going on in the West Bank. But it seems like the calm before the storm. I feel like we're getting ready to see things really go hot here. Hezbollah says their top commander was killed in Israel. You notice I don't even try to pronounce these names. basically killed an Israel strike on Beirut. So they hit a subdivision, and this made them very angry. All right. But they hit basically a subdivision, killing this guy. Has a couple kids in there too, I think, but 74 people wounded. That number continues to escalate, but they're saying there was more than just that particular guy. But in terms of Iranians. So that was the first piece. So they pop off deep into Lebanon. And then the next piece here, check this out. After that took place, remember too, just prior to that, and I wish it would stop giving me pop-ups, Biden pressures Israel not to respond after a terror rocket kills 12 kids. Yeah, there was actually a bunch of kids playing soccer on a soccer field, and this thing came in and basically killed 12 kids. And what does Biden do? Instead of saying, hey, because you can imagine if that was within the United States, 1,000,000% we would be going back on them like it was, it would be hotter than a junkie spoon very rapidly, right? But what happens here? Biden comes in and tries to pressure Israel and tells them, don't do anything, all right? Continuing on what we always do. Now, in the wake of this, they didn't just stop there in Beirut. They actually took out a guy, and we'll look at that here in a minute too. But in wake of this killing, Secretary Defense Austin says the U.S. will help defend Israel if it's attacked. So same thing we did last time. So we're going to look at the ship locations, where everything is positioned, and why this becomes very interesting. We're coming up on a year point here in about 60 days, I think, out or roughly. All right. And then look at this. Hamas top political leader is killed in Iran in a strike, basically, that is risking an all-out war in the region. Wait and see what happens. But this guy was basically popped inside Tehran, which is deep inside of Iran. And then, of course, they popped something off inside of Lebanon, which is also deep inside of Lebanon when you start talking about Beirut up in the suburbs. So 2 people killed so far in terms of them taking out these leaders. Now, the interesting piece is, you get all the Security Council resolutions, et cetera, as everybody continues to talk. But look, no doubt in my mind that Israel is going to get attacked by Iran. All right, that is coming. But as we watch tensions start to soar, U.S. deploys at least 12 warships into the Middle East amid soaring tensions. This is a report basically saying most of that is going to be in the Persian Gulf and the Eastern Mediterranean. Now, let's take a closer look. But this little comment, let me go down. I think it's still down here. Let's see. Boy, could you just point me down a little further? It's not there. Here we go. Erdogan basically says Turkey will not approve NATO attempts to cooperate with Israel. Now, I'm bringing this up, and I apologize for the scroll and scroll and scroll, but this guy right here absolutely despises Israel. And the interesting piece is he is very much in bed with Russia and Iran. And so you start talking about those 3, you start talking about Gog Magog, you start talking about Ezekiel 38. But like I said, he is basically playing both sides of the fence. He's part of NATO, which he shouldn't be, all right? But he's very much aligned with the enemies of NATO. And so this may actually end up getting him kicked out of NATO because of his stance, all right? Now, you look at the U.S. Navy tracker in terms of where our fleet is. We know we've got a couple, like the Eisenhower just came back to the U.S. George Washington looks to be back up here. The interesting piece is you start getting into the Middle East. They talked about, this large amount of battle fleet going into the region. What I see is looks like a pier detachment here. Got the Wasp still here. I see the USS Mount Whitney over here near Italy. So it'll be interesting to see. You see the Roosevelt has made its way into the Persian Gulf. So yeah, there are a few. Let's go over here to this map and just take a look at what this is showing. And you can see, well, that one just disappeared. There was one off the coast of Lebanon that has now, oh, there it is again. All right, USAV, I don't know what that one is, MG Gross. But get down into this region, and there are a bunch of warships in here. All right, this is all, yeah, it's just warship maps. You can see none of these are U.S. I don't even see the U.S. assets in here, so they are hiding. They're in here, but they're not showing their spot. Same thing over here. That's all warships. You don't see any U.S. assets in there, which is, I find, very interesting, especially given this map, which we know that they're in here because there's a Roosevelt right there. All right. So eyes on that. And then again, we talk about this area. I just want to show you the map. This is very current. This is less than 30 days old, but you can see these assets stacking up. These are Russian down here and Iranian, all right? And inside that mix, you're going to get Hezbollah and let me see. Yeah, they don't even show them. So that doesn't even include all the Hezbollah stuff. Lebanon, very hot and heavy with the Iranians. You can see, look at all the Iranian flags that have stood up shop inside of Syria, as well as the Russian ones. So again, that will tie into Ezekiel 38 because now you've got Russia, Iran, and Turkey. Those are the three that are going to be coming in. All right. Well, listen, that is going to do it for our SITREP today. And eyes on Israel and on the Middle East, because Israel is starting to kind of branch out and go deep into their enemy territories to go after the Hezbollah folks and Hamas leaders. And so there are no limits for them. I mean, they will straight up go into the middle of a country and take somebody out. So we'll wait and watch what happens. I have a feeling before we get through the weekend, we will see some type of retaliatory strike from Iran. And let's see what the U.S. does. If we allow it, if we take targets out, or if we are, complacent and letting them do their thing. We'll see. Time will certainly tell, but it ain't that far off. So, all right, that's it. Be safe. Keep that powder dry. Stay frosty. That's it. God bless. Monkey out. Artisan handcrafted soaps. Get yours in the Monkey Werx shop today.